They're yours. Hit that one more time. I am the number one determinant of the success or failure. Here we go. Of my students. Hey, y'all, you have a strong summer. Kick some butt next year. Thank you. Appreciate you. That's the mindset. That's the attitude. Love you guys.
And we are live. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And I might say Happy New Year. Welcome to week 141 of the virtual AP Leadership Academy. Let me see who we got here this morning. Let's see. We got a lot of folks in here. We got Michelle Vincent coming to us from Phoenix. We got Thomas Holmes, Latanya Martin, Grace Castanedo. Yeah, let me know where y'all coming from, folks. We got Thomas Holmes, Takesha High, Marsha Poe, Rodney Richardson, Demetrius Scott, Otis Kitchen, Dr. Aniel Austin, Dr. Sheikah Houston, Timothy Montalvo, John Hurricks, Yolanda McKinney. They're all in the building. Hit that share button, folks. Hit that retweet button. Let them know we're here. We got Demetrius Scott, Dr. Rella Hicks, Lily Lanier, Bobby Morgan, Garfar WT, Scott Wiley, Principal Dot McKeever Jeter's in the building. We got Cora Graves in the building, Rodney Richardson, Joshua Emulis Brooks in the building, Jeff Miller. They're all here. Hit that share button, hit that retweet button, hit that repost button on LinkedIn. Let them know we're here. We got Michael Benton, Principal Michael Benton in the building, Lewis Saunders, my man John Dunerman. I met him recently in the building. Who else we got here? Rashard Davis, Melissa Zuri is in the building. We got Kachika DeWitt in the building. Melissa Lee, hit the share button. We got Sean Hurt, Principal Hurt in the building. Stacy Joseph, Demetrius Scott. I said Principal Tammy Taylor, who's also Dr. Tammy Taylor. Hit that share button. Hit that retweet button. I got a big time guest here this morning. I see you there, Doc. Good to see you, man. You're making me feel much better, man. Ronald Poe is in the building. Jacqueline Carter's in the building. We got Lysandra Brackens. Nikki Broughton is in the building, man. Let me tell y'all, I was just down in Mobile, Alabama, as they say down there, Mobile, as we say up north, Mobile, right? But I was in Mobile at her school the other day. Down there's dynamite staff, man. We had a great time. Good job. Kudos to AP Nikki Broughton. We got Lynette Wilson in the building. We got Hassan Mumford Motivates in the building. Kevin Anthony Green, Dwayne Martin Foster, Principal Otis Kitchen, Edgar Ray is in the building. Melissa Jones, Chunu, Tony McClenny, y'all here, man. I'm glad to see you. Ashante Brooks, Atez, Shaniza, man. I know I'm messing up, but I'm gonna go through the whole thing. Adeleke Selbon, I think I got it somewhat, somewhat. People butcher my name all the time. There's a million different ways people say Kafele, million different ways people say Baruti. So whatever they say, I just answer to it. I see the queen is in the building. My wife, Kimberly Broughton Kafele, is here. Let me get a couple more, and then we're going to get started. Lisa B. Woods Herman is in the building. We got Bobby Morgan, Tammy Jones. No, that's Tommy Jones. And I think I'm going to cut it off right there. Oh, I see Jamal Wilkes in the building. I see you. I think I'm gonna stop it right there, y'all, because I could call your names all day. Let me say formally to everybody now, good morning. Greetings. Welcome to week 141 of the virtual AP Leadership Academy. And as I've been saying for 141 weeks now, I don't know about you, but I think I know. The reason I think I know is because you're here. So because you're here and because of the way I'm feeling right now, I need to let you know at the top of this live stream that I'm on fire. Woo! Yeah, baby, that's how I'm feeling this morning. Why? Because we at the top of the year. I'm in leadership. This platform's about leadership. The bulk of you are leaders. And if you're going to lead at a high level, like not this high, but this high, you got to bring that excitement. You've got to bring that enthusiasm. You've got to bring that energy. You've got to bring that passion. You have got to bring that fire because your staff, they require it. Your students, they require it. So make sure that you are on fire when you lead them babies in your school. Let's go, y'all. Hey, again, Happy New Year to you. This is the first Saturday of January. We're in week 141. I want to start off first by just praising God, right? You know, last Monday night, those of you who watch football and then those of you who don't, you learned it through the news. Our brother, Damar Hamlin. Man, it was looking bad, and we didn't know how bad because they weren't telling us everything initially. But man, God showed up, man. God showed up for that brother, right? And shout out to Denny Kellington, the assistant trainer who administered CPR and brought the brother back to life, right? Shout out to the UC, that's University of Cincinnati Hospital medical team who worked around the clock. And now the young man is FaceTiming, he's talking, he's writing, he's smiling, he's laughing. He'll probably be back on the football field, but I got no comments about that right now, right? The bottom line is life has been restored, right? Neurologically, seems like everything is intact. So that's a good thing. So I couldn't do anything without mentioning that. Quick commentary, because I got the big time guest today. Quick commentary. We're off, I'm calling it. We're off. It's a new year, y'all. It's a new month. Monday will be a new week. We're off. And I'm gonna ask you, like I requested of all of you who are part of the family, did you go through your mirror? Did you use your mirror through the course of that Kwanzaa week? That week that we were off? Did you engage in that self-reflection? Did you engage in that self-assessment so that you can come in with that self-adjustment on Monday, this past Monday, whenever school started? I guess it was Tuesday or Wednesday. Some of you start this Monday toward self-improvement. Did you engage? You got to look at your game film. That's what this is, Josh, the mirror. I didn't wipe it off, so don't get on me. Your mirror is the game film. So you can't string 2 days together without hitting the pause button and just going to the game film, which we use the mirror symbolically to represent it. You got to self-reflect. You got to self-assess. So that you can self-adjust towards self-improvement while never losing sight of self-preservation and self-care. You got to do it. Welcome to all the first timers. We've been here 140 weeks consecutively. I haven't missed a week. Right. So if this is your first time, go to YouTube, Virtual AP Leadership Academy, hit that subscribe button and watch all 140 sessions that you miss. I promise you, this academy will take your leadership to another level, whether you be aspiring, whether you be assistant principal, whether you be new principal, seasoned principal, even central office, all the way to the superintendent. I promise you that this platform will bless you. You just got to watch. And it's a lot of time because most of these sessions are 90 minutes. Some of my solos are 2 hours and more because I got a lot to say, y'all, every Saturday morning, right? So let me see real quick for the new heads on here. These are the two books that accompany this platform, the Assistant Principal 50 and the Aspiring Principal 50. If you don't have them, you can get them right at Amazon. Get yourself a copy, and they accompany what we do. Other than that, I got the big dog today, man. Hey, Chris, I'm ready for you. We got the big dog today, man. I got the brother. I never told him this, but I'm gonna tell him before I bring him up here. When I think about him, I think about Imhotep, who's considered the world's first multi-genius. And he's just a very brilliant young man that you all know. And those of you that don't know, you're gonna find out this morning. But let me bring the brother up here now and let's get it rocking. I got the big dog here. I got my brother, Dr. Chris Emdin. Hey, Doc, how you doing?
I'm good, beloved. How are you?
I'm on fire, man. I keep these flames burning, and I'm glad to see you. And you got some time on your hands.
Yeah, man. I'm kicking it with you today. I cleared some things around. You know what I mean? I got somebody taking the little one to ballet for me. I'll pick her up. And this morning is just to build with you, brother, and build with your community. And before we even get into the conversation, I just wanted to say I appreciate the kind words that you shared about me. I want to offer those flowers back to you. I go spaces and no one ever has anything to say about you or your work other than that the fact that it's stellar.
Oh, man.
And the work that we do for our babies is too important to have less than stellar folks doing it.
Yeah.
And you and I both know there's a lot of mediocrity out in these education streets. So I just want to begin by offering you some flowers and extending my deep appreciation for your work and your stature in this community. And then let's build, you know what I mean? Let's get to it.
Let's build. I appreciate you, man. Those words mean a great deal to me. For those on the platform that may not be familiar with your work, they probably been under a rock somewhere, but let's get them from under that rock. And let me give them this bio right quick. And for those of you who have been rocking with me for a long time, y'all know I read the whole bio because I want folks to know who I got on here. Dr. Christopher Emdin is the Robert, I hope I pronounce this correctly, Naslin Endowed Chair in Curriculum Theory and Professor of Education at the University of Southern California, USC, where he also serves as Director of Youth Engagement and Community Partnerships at the USC Race and Equity Center. He is also Scholar Griot in residence in Lincoln Center for the Performing Arts. He previously served as Associate Director of the Institute for Urban and Minority Education and Director of the Science Education Program at Teachers College, Columbia University. Dr. Emdin is an alumni fellow of the Hip Hop Archive and Hutchins Center at Harvard University and was STEAM Ambassador for the U.S. Department of State and Minorities and Energy Ambassador for the U.S. Department of Energy. Dr. Emdin holds a PhD in urban education with a concentration in mathematics, science, and technology, master's degrees in both natural sciences and education, and bachelor's degrees in physical anthropology, biology, and chemistry, which is why I say Imhotep. He is the creator of the hashtag Hip Hop Ed social media movement, Science Genius Battles, and the Create Accelerator. He was recently named one of the 27 people bridging divides in the United States by Time Magazine and the Root 100 list of most influential African Americans. He's the author of numerous award-winning works, including the award-winning Urban Science Education for the Hip Hop Generation and the New York Times bestseller for White Folks Who Teach in the Hood and the Rest of Y'all Too. His latest book, Ratchetdemic, Reimagining Academic Excellence and STEM Make Dream, are currently available wherever books are sold. I might add to the bio, because this just happened, so he probably didn't have the time to add this, but the top scholars list, the top 200, Dr. Emdin made the top 50 this year for the second consecutive year, maybe even years prior, but I'm aware of last year and this year. So think about it, folks, something like 20,000 scholars that they could choose from, and here Dr. Emdin has made that top 50 for the past 2 years. So kudos for that. And I'm sure you're going to be right up there in that top 5, number one. It's just, you young, you young head, man. Didn't you just turn 40 recently?
Relatively recent. We still got look, the divine create space for us in our own season. So I don't even follow Gregorian calendars, to be honest, beloved. Like, you know, and I appreciate being the first person in the new year with the community, but I don't operate on a natural timeline. I operate on a divine timeline, and my season is my season when it comes. The accolades are cool. Like when people read the bio, I blush a little bit, not because I don't like hearing it. I appreciate it, but I also recognize that those things don't define me by any stretch of the imagination. There's simply things that come on the course of your journey when you're following your path. So my timeline is aligned to the divine. You know what I mean? And so everything else is minor details.
I love it. I love it. Let's jump into it. You know, there's a question, 2 questions that I ask all my guests. I want to start off with you because everybody has a very interesting response to this same question. As an educator, just as an educator, who is Dr. Christopher Emdin?
As an educator, I'm a student. I firmly believe that the best educators are students. They're students of their young people. They're students of the environment where the young folks come from. They're also students of history to understand the lineage through which you came and where young folks come. And so the best educators are those who are able to consistently do the work to make sense of each phenomena that surrounds a young person and surrounds the building where they work. So I am an educator because I perpetually remain in the mode of being a student. I'm always reading. I'm always walking around and studying the environment. I'm always posing questions. And so when, you know, as an educator, I also recognize that there's no end to becoming an educator, right? It's not like you know, I got the degree, now I'm an educator, or, you know, I got the credential, now I'm an educator. The minute that you think that you know what you're doing is the minute where you end up resting on your laurels and you end up not knowing anything at all. Yeah. So my approach to teaching and learning and my approach to education and the way I construct my persona as an educator is that I'm perpetually in pursuit of more deep knowledge about the students I work with and the content that I deliver. And that's why I am as an educator.
You know, and let me say to the audience, the folks who my core audience, they know I put the comments on and highlight and all that kind of thing. Listen, y'all, I got Dr. Chris Emdin on here this morning. He is too heavy and too deep for me to look at your comments and to listen to what he's saying, because I'm gonna lose something and he might throw a question at me and I won't be prepared to answer it, right? So I'm not gonna be posting comments today. Just put your comments in, but I'm not gonna highlight them on the screen because I gotta stay focused, right? So Dr. Emdin, I'll go in and out of Dr. Emdin and Chris if you don't mind, right?
It's all love. Chris is good.
Yeah,
you know?
Here you are, this brilliant brother that has been inspiring folks around the world for quite a long time, and yet you're still a young brother. You could have gone in any direction in terms of your own brilliance, but you chose education. My question to you, why education over everything else that you could have possibly gone into?
Well, brother, you know, education is my calling. And for a very long time in my life, I functioned under the assumption that anything other than that had more value. You know, I always tell a story. You know, when I graduated with my undergraduate degrees, yes, S plural. I got a degree in physical anthropology, biology, and chemistry. I got a job in the industry. My parents are mad excited. I made more money at that point in my career than both of my parents combined, because I worked in the sciences, and I was unfulfilled. And, you know, I go to work every day and try to figure out, like, you know, what else can I do to, like, the money didn't do it. And a friend of mine said, why don't you go work with some kids? And my dad told me, try doing an after school program. So I went into this after school program working with these kids, saying, I'm gonna do this on the weekends, and then I'm gonna go during the week and get this bag. And then I realized that on the weekends is when my soul sang. Mm. Anybody who teaches knows this experience I'm about to describe to you.
Yeah.
You ever look into the eyes of a young person and see a light bulb go off because they got it?
Absolutely.
You ever hear the sound of, oh, now I get it?
Absolutely.
That sounds like music.
Yeah.
It sounds like It sounds like African drum beats. It sounds like the 808s of a hip hop record. It's something in it that makes your soul shiver. And man, once I experienced that, how could I go back to work in the laboratory? Once I've had that feeling, how do I go? Once you've got the euphoria of understanding that you're transforming the life of a young person, how do you go back to chasing a check? It's impossible. And so I decided then I was going to teach. I remember going to my mom and saying, Mom, I found what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I remember her saying, I know what you want to do with the rest of your life. Keep that job. You know, hey?
Yeah.
And I said, I'm coming over. She's like, come over. I get over there and she goes, you sound so excited. What's her name? Because she thought I was talking about a girl, you know, because when she heard that love, she thought I was talking about a shorty. I said, nah, I found it, not her. I found it. And I said, I want to teach. And she was like, not after them degrees, you not. You know? But one thing I firmly believed in is that if you operate in the pursuit of your passion and joy, all the other things come.
Yeah.
And so I decided to teach. And it wasn't an easy journey. Like, it wasn't like I got in there passionate and in my first year I was good and it all worked out. There's been obstacles, there's been ups and downs, but I've always known that in education, I'm working in my purpose.
Yeah.
The other part of it is that I think a lot of folks don't recognize, because I come through with a scientific background, is that there's nothing more scientific than teaching. You know, science is a study of natural phenomena in the universe in a pursuit of making sense of our collective existence. Yeah. Teaching is the study of the complexities of the human experience of young people for the sake of making magic in the universe. And so as a science advocate and someone who's passionate about the sciences, I actually find that there's a sort of scientific underpinning to the complexities of the experience of those who teach. There's nothing more revelatory about the human experience than engaging in dialogue with a young person to make sense of what makes them who they are. There's nothing more revealing in the epigenetic sense, right? Understanding the sort of genetic predispositions that we have to engaging in the universe than being able to work with a young person to find out the inner workings of their mind and then have them be able to utilize what's in their mind to connect to an academic content, to make them their imagination activated and then go out in the world and change things. So to me, teaching is the ultimate science. And then also those who engage in the sciences, universal knowledge, understand that science is not science until it's applicable and palatable to an audience that can make sense of it. The most brilliant and genius scientists of our time were not the ones with the most complex ideas. They were the ones who were able to take those complex ideas and relay them to the public in a way that was palatable and utilizable. Einstein was only Einstein because he was able to make complex knowledge about physics and the speed of light palatable to an audiences to apply it, right? Neil deGrasse Tyson is only dope as he is because he lets us all understand the nuances of the universe. So the most amazing scientists of our time are only amazing in the sciences because they understand and have the capacity to teach. Whew. And so those who teach must view themselves in the same realm as the most prolific scientists of our time. Our work is the sciences. It's the embodiment of the complexities of the human experience. And so the merging of those seemingly separate phenomena, science and teaching, is actually a Eurocentric construct that makes us all tease out complex ideas so that their feeble minds can try to make sense of these nuances. Now, those of us who operate for a more Afrocentric and interconnected perspective understand that those arenas are actually more closely intertwined than we could ever imagine. It's Pangea, to be honest. Yeah. It all comes together at its root. Yeah. And I try to embody that in my practice.
See, hey, first to the audience, y'all see why I got to stay focused today, right? Because he dropping some stuff. Yo, hit me with some emojis right quick. Y'all hit me with some fire. Hit me with some bombs. Hit me with whatever your favorite. If you just got something out of, and I'm still in the intro mode. We ain't even nowhere yet, right? So just hit me with them emojis. I see them coming. I see them. Hey, Doc, you know, you from Brooklyn in the Bronx. And
you already.
and I my career started in 1988 in Brooklyn in Crown Heights at PS 221 on Empire Boulevard.
My mama lived in Crown Heights, beloved.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's where it started for me. And I wasn't a superstar either that first year. In fact, I wasn't one the second year either. It took me a while to figure this thing out. However, those aha moments, those young people singing those songs, that drum beat you just talked about in terms of that connection, that's what led me into my second year and so on up into where I am now. But one day I was doing a keynote somewhere, I don't know where, and my phone buzzed because I used to have Messenger hooked up to my phone. And it was a young, so I answered it. I mean, I looked at it, and it was a student from that first class of fifth graders in 1988. And this was like 2000, I would say 17 when this came in. And she said, Mr. Kafele. And I'm sitting, they reading my bio. She said, Mr. Kafele, I'm a law professor at Columbia University, your old school. And she said, I hope you remember me. Now I did. Siobhan McKeever. She said, I'm where I am because of you as a fifth grade teacher. Now, I'm, in my mind, I'm lousy. I'm terrible. And I wrote that to her. She said, you taught me who I am as a Black woman, as a young fifth grade girl. And that's all I needed to go further. So when you talked about that reasoning why one would be in the classroom, man, money can't replace that.
At all.
At all. That's, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it is.
Yo, I write in Ratchetdemic, brother. And I meant this from the depth of my soul that the classroom is the training ground for anybody who wants to be a revolutionary.
Yeah.
If we trace back in our histories, from Du Bois to MLK to like anybody who wants to go and do anything worth anything in the world in a pursuit of freedom, they touch down in the classroom first. Yeah. The best of us get to stay in the classroom for a very long time. But anybody who want to do something to really shift the experience of Black and brown folks in this country, you got to, the classroom is the training ground for the revolutionary. As a teacher. And like, you know, those who teach miss that, right? And here's the generals are the ones who stay in the field the longest. Right? But some of us have to go to get the training there and then go on the rest of our journey. And that's why I love what you said. Like, you know, it's like you don't know the impact that you're having simply by your presence, because you're putting your time in your training ground then to do what you're doing right now.
I say all the time, I don't have a career. It's no profession, no job. During those years of teaching and principalship in particular, it was just waking up to my mission and then coming back home and going to sleep at night and resume it tomorrow morning. That's all it was. It wasn't no job, man. I'm here to effectuate change in young people, and that was what it was all about, right? So you know, you wrote this book. You wrote a few books, but this one book had this intriguing title, and I share it with a whole lot of folks. For white folks who teach in the hood, let me stop it there before we get to the rest of the title.
Yes, sir.
For white folks who teach in the hood, for those who are not familiar with the book, I'll give you the whole title, and the rest of y'all too, right? So for white folks who teach in the hood and the rest of y'all too, meaning the rest of us, right? But I want to go to the one that has the part that has the largest letters, right? For white folks who teach in the hood, man, when I first saw that, because I knew of your work before you, and we had met before that book came out in Portland. And I said, wow, I have to get this because I need to see what he's talking about. Because I'm thinking about my own challenges in terms of my white staff that's not making those connections with Black students. And I'm Jersey guy, so I'm East Orange, New Jersey, everybody Black, right? So I'm thinking about that. I said, here's something that, because I know who the author is in his work, I know there's content in there that's going to benefit folks. So I want to ask you, and I might add, just for the audience, this book was written in 2016, but it's still doing damage on Amazon. It's number 4 in sociology of urban areas, number 5 in philosophy and social aspects of education, and number 5 in history of education. That's not normal for a book written so many years ago, but here it is. It's still in high demand. So my question to you, Doc, is what's the motivation for writing a book for white folks who teach in the hood? What's the motivation behind that?
you know,
and
brother,
a title like that.
yeah, you know, I don't know how to not tell the truth. I've tried to distort the message. I've tried to water it down. I personally, because of the world around me, I've tried to adulterate what it is I know has to be said. And I've come to realize that if you're operating in purpose and in the pursuit of legacy, and you adulterate what the ancestors have given you to share in your time, then you betray your legacy. And I don't want to betray my legacy.
Yeah.
I want to leave this planet years from now, but I want to do so spent and known for telling the truth. And so I wrote that book and I named it what it was because it's the truth. You know, before we started having this moment of racial reckoning in 2018, and before we had the pandemic and we started doing all this stuff in 2020, somebody had to say, yo, 87% of the teachers that teach Black and brown children are white. Nobody wanted to say it.
Right.
And so, one, that was a fact. Two, they were ill-equipped for teaching our children. That was another fact. You know what I'm saying? And three, we had to also recognize that we're talking about the hood. We're not talking about a socioeconomically advantaged place. We're talking about the hood. And when I say the hood, not in a pejorative way, like it's negative, I'm saying that it's a beautiful and powerful way. But you have close to 90% of the population who are ill-equipped to teach a particular population. And when they hear hood, they get fearful. I wanted to embrace the phrase hood, because it is the hood, let's just say it. I want to name the fact that these cats is white. And I want to name the fact that they need some training, and they were not getting them training in the professional developments, and they damn sure weren't getting that training in their schools of education. And so there were truths to be said, and I had to say it. And I'll tell you this too, and I haven't told a lot of people this. That book dropped in 2016. It could have dropped a lot earlier. It was done before then. But folks were trying to tell me to change the title and change the message, and you know, why don't you not say this in that way? So it was a fight just to get the book to the point where it could be published. Shout out to Beacon Press for doing that.
Wow.
And so, you know, the book was done in 2014.
Wow.
And in 2014, the issues in 2016 were present, and they're present in 2018, and they're present in 2023. The reason why the book is still resonating is because truth is truth. So that's why I named it that. Another part is like, you know, and we're gonna talk about Ratchetdemic a little bit.
Yeah.
It's okay to be like we are and say what we know. Like, they are white folks who's teaching the hood, and it's the rest of y'all too. And like, it's okay to use colloquialism. It's okay to talk the way we talk. It's okay to express the way that we express. And so I wanted to name it that. The title of the book is what it is, to be like, yo, like we ourselves. My intellectual heft is not demeaned by the nature of my discourse or the colloquialism that I employ, right? My hoodness does not rob me of being a man that has deep philosophical and spiritual roots, right? So I don't have to demean my presentation for the sake of your comfort. It's for white folks who teaching the hood, and the rest of y'all too. Yeah. I don't know if y'all knew or not, but most of y'all is white. Some of y'all who's Black might as well be white, because you got white supremacist ideologies permeating through your veins. And we're talking about the hood and not talking about suburbia, because that's where the issues had to be named. And at some point, we all have to get to the point where we're doing radical truth telling. And so the book is named that for the sake of introducing a dialogue around radical truth telling.
Woo! I'm gonna say it again. That's why I'm not highlighting comments today. I got to stay focused, y'all. Listen, Doc, I'm thinking about my 14 years of principalship, and I'm thinking about my staff. And I had a lot of those teachers. I had a lot of white teachers in the 4 schools that I led, and I knew that I had to provide them with a different kind of an experience toward making those connections with students. But also, as you say, the rest of y'all too, I had some Black folks that I had to unravel some of the crap that they had and then remold and reshape. But that young white teacher who's in so many of my audiences, my question to you, given that chances are good, and I'm saying she because of that 87% that you referenced The majority of them are women. And many of them are very young.
Yep.
I get to see them every day. And I'm thinking about the fact that chances are good that here's the school over here, and here's the community. So that youngster is growing up right here in close proximity to the school. But then up the highway that was probably constructed so that I don't have to drive through the community, the hood. Now I'm living in my bubble. It ain't that far. Like, let me use cities to be very concrete. Newark, New Jersey, which is where I work. So there, when I was growing up, there wasn't a highway to connect the suburbs, Livingston and so forth, to Newark. You had to drive through Newark. So after 67, with the rebellion, they had to build 280. So now you can go over Newark, through Newark, but don't have to go into Newark. So that teacher that's living up there in that suburb up 280 West grows up, wants to teach, goes to college, studies at undergrad school, pre-service teacher, and then decides I want to teach down in Newark. So now I go down to Newark, and that world is a world I have zero intimate familiarity, direct familiarity with. I've only seen it from a distance. That's television, right. Pop culture, etc. Passed you up in the mall, whatever it was. Yep. So my question to you, as I keep saying the same thing, what are the prerequisites for that teacher to come into Newark or any urban city where there's a preponderance of African-American people or Black people, in this case, Black children? What are those prerequisites that teacher may need for that teacher to be successful with those Black and brown babies?
The first thing I would say, and man, I love the way you described the context of Newark and Livingston, all across the country. Is the same exact scenario. The first piece is that I deal with is this. Is the place where you're teaching an arbitrary location, or is it your destination? Right? Is it a stop on your journey, or is it where your direct focus is when you get there? That's the first part. You can't teach somebody if you go in there thinking about your next step of your life, your career, or your whatever. Like, it can't be like, I'm going to go in here and teach in the school for 3 years, and then TFA is going to make me a lawyer, or I'm going to go here for a year, and then I'm going to be able to go to like. So the first step is to say, I'm not saying that your aspirational goals should be erased. It is to say, for the season that you're working with these students, it cannot be an arbitrary location. It must be your destination. This is where you land. This is where you sit. This is where you know. So we begin by that. Once you can identify it's your location, then you've got to know it intimately. So I've done this in my graduate school classes. We've gone into the community because people have perceptions about places based on just what they've been soaking in by media, right? Those kids are bad. There's so much crime. There's so much violence. So I was like, yo, let's go in. Once you go in, you start to understand the same places that the media frames as being inherently violent also has beautiful and powerful community.
Yeah.
The same young folks that have been framed as illiterate have complex and nuanced ways of communication, right? The same places where they say that they're emotionally bankrupt find ways to express their emotions deeply and keenly in hip hop ciphers and mosques and churches. Right? The same places where they say that there's misogyny, there are folks who love on Black women and love on sisters within community spaces. So you have to start aligning what your perception is and what the reality is. And then you want to start identifying what was a thing in between that was a filter through which our reality became distortions in the imagination of whoever else it is. Once you start understanding and seeing the beauty and the magic in the population, your approach to them changes. And then we've got to unpack you.
Yeah.
Why did you feel that way about that population?
Yeah.
Who raised you? Right?
Yeah.
Tell me what your mama taught you. Tell me what your daddy taught you. Tell me where you came from, your background. Tell me what kind of music you listen to. Man, could you hold that mirror up?
That's it.
You gotta deconstruct you. And I'm saying this to those who are going to go teach, but anybody who's on here on a live or whatever else it is, let me tell you something. You will always operate at a shell of who you authentically are if you've not done the work to know yourself. You will consistently be chasing somebody else's visions of you when you don't understand at the core who you are, whose you are, what your calling is, what your purpose is. Why am I on this planet? Sometimes you gotta leave the graduate school of education that you're getting that degree from and go home and ask yourself, who am I and whose am I? Why am I doing this? Should I be doing this? In the absence of an interrogation of self, it's nothing. You're just floating in the wind. So that's that part. Then we got to talk about why, not just the distortions of the community, but distortions of things that we use to judge our babies, right? So I have an assessment, a test that's supposed to be measuring intelligence, but it does not at all capture emotional intelligence. It doesn't capture how to navigate social spaces. It doesn't capture how to be able to deal with social cues. It does not capture orality. It doesn't capture verb. It does not capture movement. It doesn't capture rhythmic superiority, right? So if the assessment is only capturing a thin slice of the complexity of the experience of a population, it cannot at all be attached to a marker of genius. Yeah. So you got to get those teachers to understand that the things that they held onto as markers of intelligence were in actuality flawed by their very idea. And then here's where it gets interesting. You got to show folks how ill prepared and how unintelligent they may be. And this is hard. I got to say to somebody, yo, can you, in the middle of a party, when a beat comes on, within 3 seconds, catch the beat and know how to nod your head rhythmically to that beat? Mm. If you can't do that, you don't know what that vibe is. You have passed my rhythm achievement gap test. Mm. You have failed. You're rhythmically unintelligent. Therefore, you lack the capacity to be able to engage with young people who are rhythmically superior. You feel me?
Wow.
When I engage with you, do you have the capacity to be able to listen to me and engage in conversation, but also pay attention to what's going on in the backdrop, and also be able to listen to music, and also to at the same time pay attention and have no gaps in our discourse? If you lack that, then you're communicatively deficient. So engage with young folks of color because they have a superiority around those modes of engagement. Like, bro, think about us right now. Can we just talk about us, me and you?
Yeah.
Have we had a 35-second pause to reflect quickly on the next question and like, have we had that? No. We've been in the zone, beloved. Like, we do what we do as brothers engaged. Like, I talk, you flow, I'm nodding, I'm thinking, I'm moving. You ain't said, well, Dr. Emdin, let me go back to my script and see what question 4 was for our interview this morning. The nature of our engagement is so beautiful and organic. You know why? Because you and I, dear brother, are communicatively superior to a person who may go into a classroom and can't operate on that level. They can't catch that staccato. They can't feel that vibe. Well, our babies operate on our frequency. So if you're not tapped into that frequency, Leon, if you're not tapped into that frequency, you lack the ability to be able to engage. So, it's about a deconstruction of the fallacies that we attach to genius and brilliance. An honest assessment of who we are and where the students are. Yeah. And then a shared co-construction of a new normal. This is why for white folks who teach in the hood, I talk about co-generative dialogues. Now let's engage in dialogue and conversation with young people, with parents, with community, to recreate our own new normal that acknowledges my deficiency, that highlights their superiority, and then might also highlight where they may be deficient in some thin slice academically, and still meet those goals. See, a lot of folks, beloved, when I get to talking about this work, they're saying, well, Dr. Emdin just wants us all to be ratchet and the kids can't learn nothing. I didn't say that, stupid. There's a misperception that engaging in this way means that we lack the intellectual and academic rigor that is expected of our babies. I'm just saying I hold the high rigor. There's a different pathway to get there. And the pathway to get there has to lean into our superior communicative aspects of who we are. A more Afrocentric, more connected, deep-rooted understanding of our modes of teaching that may not be highlighted in a very unitary, Eurocentric, I speak, you speak, we pause, we write. That's simplistic. Sometimes the babies don't achieve, not because the standards are too high, but their back hurts to go down to the standard that's too low. But you held what's low to be high, and expect me to keep breaking my back to go there.
Yeah.
If the standards are high for how I engage and match up to who I am, I meet and surpass the academic standards. You heard?
Wow. You know, when you say that, it takes me back. Remember when Black Panther, the movie, came out, and there was just all this hype and excitement for this movie in terms of some imagery that we've never seen before in cinema. So I decided to go see it in 2 theaters. I wanted to see it in a white theater, and I wanted to see it in a black theater. I didn't go see the movie to see the movie. I went to see the audience. I wanted to see the reaction. The white theater, so I went to the black theater first. And man, it was like being in the Pentecostal church, right? It was excitement. It was call and response. It was cheering. It was ovation. It was talking to one another about whatever. And I felt like I was home. But then I went the next night somewhere up 280 to the white theater. And I don't want to say that there wasn't appreciation, but the demonstration of it was radically different.
Yeah.
Right. At the end of the movie at the black theater, the folks didn't get up to leave. They stayed and read all the credits until it was over. Right. In the white theater, folks got up and left. So when I talk about that with my audiences, I say, you know, I'm not going to say that one was better than another, but I'm going to say culturally speaking, the experience was very different. And if someone is not familiar with the culture of the people in the first setting, the first showing, which was the black theater for me, then they may question that. How could the people comprehend the content with all the other things that were happening? But when I listen to everything you just said, it all makes sense.
Yeah, there's a perceptual deficiency.
Yeah,
there's an inability to be able to perceive aspects of the phenomena you're witnessing and allow it to come through your body and be expressed. And you know, I'm not trying to say all white folks are deficient in those arenas. I am trying to say if you find yourself not being moved by something that was designed to move you, you may have a deficiency.
Yeah.
And I'm also trying to say, and this is where the work really connects to hip hop, because I'm glad you brought up Black Panther, because in Black Panther was ill to me. It's that the phenomena that the entire movie was wrapped around, in addition to the characters and all those things, to me, the anchor of it was the vibranium. The vibranium was this element that was stolen from Wakanda, that was then taken and adopted in other nations, and they wanted back their culture. And that allows me to be able to connect back to why we need, in this year, 2023, the 50th anniversary of hip hop, because hip hop is our vibranium. Hip hop, which comes from Afrocentric rhythmic movement and verve and griots and storytelling, was our culture that we developed, our modes of communication. It was our vibranium. And corporations came and stole hip hop and took it to other places across the globe and put it on display, just like they did the vibranium and the statues in Wakanda. And then it was in those spaces, and then we would have to go to those spaces to witness it. And what we want back through Hip Hop Ed is to give us our vibranium back so we can utilize it for the purpose of reimagining our collective community. And so a lot of folks will say to me, well, Dr. E, why are you so focused on hip hop? Isn't it violent? Isn't it misogynistic? Isn't it angry? I said, well, hip hop is hip hop. It's violent, misogynistic, and angry because corporations stole our vibranium and put it in their museums for us to witness. We're still drawn to it because it's made of our pure elements, but it was their distortions of our vibranium that still attracted us to it. But if we take our hip hop back and make it what it was supposed to be, it can drive our education. It can drive our collective betterment. And so that Wakanda metaphor is just so on point because, brother, if you allow your enemy to steal your essence, and market it back to you, it is in their best interest to distort it in ways that will demean and undermine you. I'm gonna take what you're naturally attracted to. Know that you're attracted to it, and then add all these impurities, knowing you will come to it anyway. Then I can infect you with the impurities, and then say that the impurities are who you are.
Can kill you with it,
and kill you with it. You know,
it's
the cream. I don't know if you read Ratchetdemic yet, beloved, but it's the cream. It's the cream of the Oreo. Oh, that's love, King. That's love. It's the cream
No,
of the Oreo story.
I don't play, man. I don't play.
Yeah. That's love.
So and we're gonna get to the whole hip hop movement, hip hop ed anyway. But let me ask you this now. Staying true to the platform, we got a lot of leaders on here. We got a lot of assistant principals on here. We got a lot of aspiring administrators on here. We got new principals. We got seasoned principals. So my question to you, with everything that you just said, as it related to the initial question about those prerequisites, what might be the implications for the school leader who is coaching, supervising, and evaluating said teacher?
Well, look, for the administrator, it's quite simple. The question I ask them is, there's certain things that you have to start with. One, we have to recognize the system of education as it currently exists was not designed for the freedom of Black and brown people. We got to start there.
Yeah.
And the school is a ship that sits in Confederate waters, right? It sits on waters in a geographic location that was not supposed to get people free. As a principal, you've been charged to be the captain of a ship that was supposed to just dance around enemy waters. So the decision you have to make is, as I lead this thing, am I going to lead it to remain in Confederate waters, or am I going to lead it to move towards freedom? I usually say this when I give talks and speeches and stuff, but talking to my dear brother, so I'm gonna share the story anyway.
Yes, sir.
My philosophy for leadership revolves around a concept that I call a Smalls principle. Smalls principle. The Smalls principle is equal parts Biggie Smalls and Robert Smalls. Biggie Smalls, an iconic griot with complex storytelling ability that gave really deep social analysis, including that first line on his first album. I'd like to dedicate this album to all the teachers who told me I wouldn't amount to nothing, which describes the complexity of the urban experience in a way that's more profound than anything that could be written by any PhD. Had this one line that I think attaches to leadership. Stay far from timid, only make moves when your heart's in it, and live the phrase, sky's the limit. If you're a leader, the first thing is to be far from timid. You cannot be a leader and be scared. Them things don't work together. I cannot be an AP or a principal or a dean in any institution, and I'm scared of what somebody else. If your leadership is driven by a fear of your superintendent, fear of the state, fear of the test scores, fear of the whatever else it is, you can't even lead. So the first thing that you have to address is, who am I and what am I fearful of in this role? Once you're free and say, you know what? I ain't scared.
Yeah.
I got this position because I earned this position.
Yes, sir.
I got this position because I was called for this position. I've worked hard to get my degree so I could be in this role. Once you own that and you're not fearful, then you got checkbox 1. You ready to lead. Absence of fear. Stay far from timid. 2, only make moves when your heart's in it. Because once you're far from timid, that's so much self-work that you've done, that what you've done is that you've activated your intuitional knowledge. Intuitional knowledge has distortions from institutional knowledge. Institutional knowledge is how things have been done. It's what's in all the books. It's in what's in your degree. It's in what's your program. Unless you buy, my books or Principal Kafele's books where we telling y'all the truth. But it's in all those things that you've got that gives you institutional knowledge. But once you've done the work to be free, now you've unveiled your intuitional knowledge. Once you have intuitional knowledge, you got to learn to trust that. So the first step is far from timid. The second step, only make move when your heart's in it, which is trusting your intuition to do the work. That might mean ignoring the institutional and tapping into the intuitional. Stay far from timid, check. Only make move when your heart's in it, check. Then live the phrase, sky's the limit, which is the activation of the radical imagination. Shout out to Robin D.G. Kelly. So once you're far from timid and you make moves when your heart's in it, then you got to start activating your brain to say, what do I dream of for this school? If my dream is higher test scores, so be it. If my dream is emancipatory spaces, so be it. But you have to do this in a chronological order. You cannot dream without first being far from timid and only make moves when your heart's in it. You got the order distorted. The first is to address the fear, then only make move when your heart's in it, then have a radical imagination, and then you work in pursuing that. So far from timid, only make move when your heart's in it, and then live the phrase, sky's the limit. Leadership mantra 101. That's the Biggie Smalls of the Smalls principle. You heard? Now we got the Robert Smalls piece. Robert Smalls was a dude who lived in the 1800s.
That's right.
Who was born, I know you know, beloved. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, I've been talking a lot. You want to tell me a little about Robert, or should I keep flowing?
No, good. Keep going, because I want to hear how you're going to take that.
So Robert Smalls, right? He was born enslaved, and he got a job working on a Confederate ship, which is a ship that was not designed for him to ever be free. But he ended up finding himself working on said ship. Much like a lot of principals, teachers, and APs find themselves employed in a school system that was not designed for the freedom of our babies. But here's what's the interesting story about Robert Smalls. Robert got the job on his ship. He worked every day. And then as he worked every day, he watched the way that the captain of the ship operated. He learned the hand signals. He learned the gestures. He learned how he wore the captain's hat. He sat on the ship and watched the way the captain operated the ship, because Robert knew one day the captain was going to leave the ship. And it happened one night. One night, the captain of the ship that employed Robert left the ship. He went to a party and took his peoples with him. Robert was on the ship. And as soon as Robert got on the ship, he saw the captain left. He said, "Oh, word, here I am." He went and he put on the captain's hat and stood on the helm of the ship. And when he stood on the helm of the ship, nobody could tell if it was actually Robert or the actual captain. He got a job as an AP and a principal. And he's on his ship. The ship was not designed to set folks free. But here he is now taking the role. And then he used the hand signals, the gestures, what he read, what he observed. And he got his people on that ship. And he led a Confederate ship that was only supposed to stay on Confederate lands towards freedom. So much so that he was able to take the entire ship, go towards the other side, and let folks free. As a principal and an AP, you got to be equal parts Biggie Smalls and Robert Smalls. You far from timid, only make move when the heart's in it, and you live the phrase sky's the limit. But also you wait for the opportunity where you get the chance to be on a ship. Now, some of us are on a ship, the captain left, and you still following the rules as if the captain was leading. Now you're the leader. Now you're the AP. What you gonna do when you on the helm of the ship? You put that hat on, you learn the hand gestures, and you could be on that same ship, but lead it towards freedom rather than staying in the Confederate waters over and over and over again. The Smalls principle is at the essence of educational leadership. The more you study it, the more you understand it, the more you apply it to your tasks, your roles, and daily responsibilities, the more effective you are as a leader.
Hey, somebody better hit that share button, because we ain't done, right? We ain't nowhere near done. And I can see from the comments you taking this all in. I want to throw a question at the audience that you just raised, Doc. You said, "What do I dream of for this school?" Let me ask somebody. I'm just talking to somebody in this camera right now. What do you dream of for the school you lead? Even at AP, you are a leader in that school. You're not in the classroom anymore. You number 2. If there's several of you, you are equally number 2. But what do you dream of for this school? And do you have the willingness? Do you have the courage? Do you have the audacity to pursue that which you dream? Speaking for me personally, and the folks that are regulars on here, you know, if I'm a dream it, it's going to become my reality. I'm not going to dream stuff and then walk in another direction. I'm definitely not going to punk out, right? So what do you dream? But then you also said, what you going to do as at the helm of the ship? What you going to do? So you in this position now. Going back to that word dream, you dreamt it. Now you in it. What you going to do with it? You got to ask yourself that question all the time, but you got to keep that mirror handy, because it got to be you and you.
Bro, let me say one thing real quick, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
And it's non-conventional, but it's just the way I see it.
Yes, sir.
Your AP ain't number 2, and your principal ain't number 1. Everybody, look, when you tapped in, everybody's number 1.
I hear you.
Check this out. And I get it. Look, let me tell you something. A title doesn't define your purpose, your power, nor your ability to transform the space where you are in. All they are is jobs. like a title. I got titles. What I've come to understand through a life of amassing titles is the uselessness of titles. I got a couple bachelors, I got a couple masters, I got a PhD. Gave me this award and that award and that award. Like I'm not saying there ain't more to get. You know what I'm saying? If you get them, I say thank you. If you give them, I say thank you. But what I've come to understand is that when you define yourself by a title or by accolades, they become a cage that imprisons your growth. So if I got a job and I'm the AP, I'm like, hi, that's the principal's job is what the principal does. My job is what I do. AP ain't nothing but a title. When I get to activating my vision, when I get to touching them lives, when I get them babies to start to turn up, when the engagement comes, I could be a technical number 2 and an impactful number 1. You see what I'm saying? And so, and your gift will perpetually make space for you. So I refuse, I say this fully in love. And so one of the people accuse me all the time, say, oh my gosh, he said he's great. How dare he say he's great? Emdin needs to be humble. I say, stupid. What you fail to recognize is that humility is not a performance to make people around you comfortable. People think, look, he has to be humble. That means don't say nothing good about yourself. It means walk around with your head down, literally break yourself. People expect you to be broken. So they say you're not, so that they can say that you're humble. Nah, humility is this. Humility is not a performance. Humility is a recognition that wherever you are, there is somebody else, if called, chosen, or had the luck, opportunity, or circumstances, could be exactly where you at. Yeah. So I understand I'm Chris Emdin, and I'm great. I also understand I am a great as a consequence of the luck, opportunity, circumstances, and grace that has allowed me to be here. And that anybody who's listening to us right now could very easily be me, say what I say, do what I do with the same fervor and passion and truth and rigor and research if they were so chosen. So I operate daily knowing I ain't so special that somebody else can't do what I do. Yeah. But I also operate daily recognizing that I've been touched by the divine to operate in my calling. So I will tell you I'm great, but recognize that I have to be humble. I will tell you I'm excellent. I will tell you I am never a number 2. A list put me at 49 or 48 the other day. I'm like, y'all, I'm glad y'all could keep that list. I'm number 1, baby. I'm touched by the divine and operating in my mission to go out into the universe to fulfill what I've been called to do by my ancestors who flow through me. I'm always number 1.
Yes, sir.
Right? And when you get to the point where you understand that, particularly if you work in education, because we are the most called on the planet, the Lord said that profession.
Yes, sir.
When you work in teaching and education and you understand that you've been called, you ain't nobody's number 2, beloved. We all number 1s. The only number 2s are those who ain't tapped in like we tapped in. Yeah. That's all. Everybody else who's operating outside of their grace can be number 2. But you can replace me in this space. You can replace me in this dialogue. You can replace me in this conversation if you are so touched, blessed, and operating in your divine purpose. But everybody number 1 if you tapped in.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love it. Let's keep moving. At the core of your work is reality pedagogy. And I've always been intrigued by that. And I want to quote you here. You state that reality pedagogy is an approach to teaching and learning that has a primary goal of meeting each student on his or her own cultural and emotional turf.
Yeah.
Now, when I read that for the first time years ago, I thought about the way that I personally define the word equity. Simplistic definition, meeting young people where they are, ... as they are. And when I read reality pedagogy, I said, there's my equity definition with swag, right? Because, because here you're saying his or her own cultural and emotional turf, which is the same thing I'm saying, but I'm saying it as they are. So what I want you to do first, before I get to the leadership again, elaborate. What do you mean by reality pedagogy?
Beloved, I want to begin by just shouting out to my OGs. especially my academic mama, Gloria Latson Billings.
Yeah.
I love her. Like I love air and good food and hip hop beats.
Is she on here right now?
I don't know if she is.
Yeah,
but she's everything to me.
Because she was on the platform with me not long ago.
That's love. That's love. But I begin with what she's taught me about culturally relevant pedagogy, right? That the instruction has to be relevant to the young people. I do, though, say and believe that reality pedagogy is an evolution of culturally relevant pedagogy, because culturally relevant pedagogy functions under a premise or has been taken up in a way that says that I, teacher, have to make assumptions about what the culture is of the babies and then teach to my assumptions about them. So self becomes a filter through which the culture gets enacted, which is a flawed premise, because you can make assumptions about culture or even read about culture, but the only way you can fully understand somebody's culture is to understand their reality. Culture is powerful. Reality is different, which is not just my general, culture is a merging of schema and practices and understandings. Reality is how I make sense of who I am in the everyday. Like, what's my reality? Like, sometimes a kid can come to school and they have a particular culture, but the reality is that they just got into a fight before they walk into their school building. So culture could be a blanket, but reality gets you closer to how I'm manifesting this in the moment. And the thing about reality is that it's ever evolving. And the other thing about reality, under my framing of reality pedagogy, is that you have consistent co-generative dialogues with young people to have insight into their reality, which becomes a manifestation of culture in situ. So emotional and cultural turf is a way of saying the utilizing culture as the lens to get to the enactments of reality, then utilizing reality to be the anchor of the pedagogy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And why I said cultural and emotional turf is because reality is oftentimes manifested through how folks express the emotions that they're feeling, even if they don't have the language to articulate those emotions. So like a young person can come into my classroom or to my school and be wilding out. And you say, oh my God, this kid is angry. And you don't understand, if you get into the emotional turf and you engage in a co-generative dialogue, you start realizing that the anger is a manifestation of fear. They scared that they don't know where the next meal is coming from. So they show up being angry. Now, if you're fighting the emotion of anger and you're trying to diffuse anger, that's either a momentary diffusing or you're going to just incite more anger. You got to get to the reality and understand that that's actually based on a fear. When you address the fear, then the anger dissipates. So a reality pedagogy allows us to be able to have mechanisms to have more keen insight into the nuances of reality. And we may not have the time and space here, but I got 7 steps of reality pedagogy. And we delve into nuances and details in each of those things. And I think when teachers teach from that point, they get to the emotional turf, the cultural turf, and the expressions of reality, which I think allows us to be able to get to a more authentic pedagogy.
Thinking about the leadership again, with everything you just said, I'm thinking about that leader that's on the call right now saying, amen. I hear you. I love this. I'm reignited. These are some of the comments that I'm reading now. I feel reinvigorated, etc. But let's take that and translate it into practice. What are the implications, again, for the leadership when we talk about reality pedagogy that was born out of culturally relevant pedagogy? What are the implications for that leader that's feeling excited right now, and then they get back to school on Monday morning? How do I take that and make it a part of my coaching, supervision, and evaluation?
You got to build an infrastructure around what you believe in. And this is why, my work is equal parts philosophical and practical, like equal parts theoretical and tangible. So we talked about before, like I talk about Pentecostal pedagogy. I talk about Ratchetdemic ideology. I talk, like all them things, but they all dwindle down into these formulas that I've constructed to help us to get there. So I would say for that kind of leader, okay, boom, you bought in, you get the joint, you feeling it, you in your framework, then you need to have a reality pedagogy school. We got to bring this down to the essence. So now, what is reality pedagogy? We define it for our teachers. We have a PD where we say, okay, this is co-generative dialogues. This is how you implement it. Like when I do PDs, we don't just talk co-generative dialogues. Here's how you pick the students. This is how you organize the seating arrangements. This is how you facilitate the dialogue. Here are the questions that glean from it. Here's the formula for how you implement that. After co-generative dialogues, we got co-teaching. Who do you call to co-teach? How do you create a co-teaching culture? How do you institute that practice? Cosmopolitanism. Like, so, you know, here's the thing about me. Like, I ain't gonna gas you up and not give you a vehicle, you know what I mean, to be able to drive it. So reality pedagogy makes it more practical. I also have a framework around the rights of the body. How do we enact rights of the body? The rights that all young folks and teachers demand and deserve to be full and whole to express in the space. You know, the right to be here, the right to feel, the right to love and be loved. So, you know, the beauty of, I think, this approach is that if you're bought in philosophically, then you got to buy in practically. And you could create an infrastructure around that the same way that they create these infrastructures around this stuff that we know is trash. I'll just say the truth. There's no reason why we should all be collectively implementing Charlotte Danielson's framework as an approach to teaching and learning in the United States for Black and brown children. It just shouldn't happen.
Amen.
It just should not happen. And the whole school district bought that and following that, and it wasn't designed for our babies. Can I just name some things? Why are we still doing in elementary schools the reading and writing project? That this human being who's expressed herself and revealed herself to be morally bankrupt is, why are we using that as an approach to teaching and learning for Black and brown children in schools? Trash.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, and here's the thing that gets at me, beloved. Like, don't tell me you believe in what I believe in, and in your practice, you're utilizing the tools of our oppressor to keep our babies incarcerated and emancipated mentally and intellectually. You know what I mean? It ain't like Principal Kafele ain't got a whole set of books that give you frameworks. So don't talk like you bought that life, then don't implement it. Yeah. Don't say, oh, I read Ratchetdemic, doctor, and then I really like for white folks. And then you ain't brought nobody in to be able to do a PD to get that work instituted in your institution. And sometimes at some point, the rhetoric got to match the practice. And then you also got to stand by what you believe in. That's the other part. This is why I said stay far from timid. If you believe in the work, you believe in the approach, you see there are ways to implement it, you can't be scared. Ain't no space for fear and freedom. Do you know how many, y'all, sometimes, listen, they don't look, last week, they done hacked my Twitter. On Twitter, every Tuesday for the last 12 years, me and my bro Tim Jones, every Tuesday for the last 12 years, I went on Twitter for free. Nobody was paying me. I ain't had no grant. I didn't get no whatever. I ain't miss a Tuesday. And we did a chat online on that platform for free for any educator, for any parent, for any community member. We just did it every week. Then we got to Twitter Spaces. Twitter called me. Hey, man, we like your chat. We want you to be one of the few people to help us do a Twitter Spaces for free every week. Shout out to Yadi Bell Mercedes. Shout out to Yolanda Salih Ruiz. Shout out to every week we got on there for free and got this done. Somebody came, hacked my Twitter.
Yeah.
I had 80,000 followers. And the thing for me that hurt my feelings is we don't have 80,000 followers. We have 80,000 community members, parents, principals, young people. Somebody came and hacked my page. And I know it wasn't an arbitrary hack. I knew it was an intentional and deliberate hack because I've been doing some truth telling. But they hacked my page and whatever else it is. I called Twitter. I don't care if Elon running it or somebody else is running it. I said, yo, y'all call me instead of doing Twitter Spaces. I launched Twitter Spaces for Twitter with Hip Hop Ed. Somebody hacked my page. Put it back. They said no. I said, yo, it's me, beloved. Y'all emailed me. I ain't emailed y'all. We've been building together for a minute. Put it back on. They said no. And you know what I came to recognize? I was on Twitter and I said, Elon Musk and his little friends better get it together. And it's an inside job to undermine the community that we've built over 12 years.
Yeah.
So what do I do with that? Do I say, oh, that's it, I'll never get on that platform again? Nah. I start from zero. Because you know what? You could take a Twitter hack. You could take a letter. You know, people write letters about me all the time. You could write a note. You could make up a lie. You could construct a distortion. You could activate your negative imagination. You could do whatever you want to do, but ain't nothing going to stop me from doing what I was called to do.
Yes, sir.
You take the page, we start from scratch. You write a letter, we move institutions. You say something there, we go somewhere else. The work is too important to be driven by that. So I operate with no fear. Can nobody stop me from what I was called to do? Now, if I'm operating with no fear to give you this work, why are you scared of what your superintendent gonna say when you implement reality pedagogy?
Woo!
That's a minuscule thing.
Yeah.
In comparison, somebody's going, they hack my Twitter, they're gonna hack your curriculum. Y'all ain't even listening to me. They're gonna hack your intention. They're gonna say, he came in and implemented these dialogues, which is robbing us from having more test prep time. The nature of the oppressor is to hack our freedom plans. In response, what you gonna do? Be scared? What you gonna do, Robert Smalls? Stay in the belly of the ship when you've been called to the helm? No fear. This is mission and freedom work, baby. We ain't got no space to be fearful at all. So if you believe in the philosophy, implement the practice. Bring me in. Bring my team in. Edmund, Ian, Principal Kafele, because you know we on the team. We on the same team.
Yes, sir.
I claim my people. I don't claim them by name affiliation. I claim them by mission affiliation.
Yes, sir.
Bring your people in. Let's get it done. When it get hot, don't be scared. We gonna ride out together.
Yeah.
It's freedom work.
Freedom work. Freedom work. I love it. I love it. Ratchetdemic. Let's talk a little bit about it.
Yes, sir.
You know, Chris, when you started launching this before it was released, you were kind of putting it out there, the teasers, and I saw that word ratchet, and you know, thinking about just the urban vernacular, I'm like, what's he saying? Ratchetdemic. Is it a condemnation of the current academics? I'm trying to figure it out, and then once you put it out, I said, oh, okay, I get this. And what I'm known to read a paragraph or two on this platform. And I want to read something real quick from the intro. You said to be ratchetdemic is to achieve a state of consciousness that allows one to operate in the world having mind, body, and spirit activated, validated, and whole without distortion or concession as one acquires all essential knowledge, academic knowledge, knowledge of self, knowledge of how to navigate one's immediate surroundings, knowledge of the systems in which one is embedded, particularly those that are structured to disempower, and knowledge of the world. Achieving this state of consciousness is the true mark of being educated in both getting to the point and helping youth to get to that point are the chief responsibilities of the educator. I found that to be a powerful quote, and I wanted to share that with the audience. So talk to us, Chris, because this is what you do now. What is Ratchetdemic? And what is a Ratchetdemic educator?
Man, I had to sit as I sat, brother, as you read that quote and closed my eyes and listened to it. And you know, sometimes when people when people read them quotes back to me, or they oh, you said this on page this, or you know, whatever else it is. Every time I hear it like I'm hearing it for the first time. And it just always humbles me. That it humbles me that the divine guided my pen.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful to have been chosen to give what I've been given.
Yes, sir.
I offer gratitude to the Most High for blessing me with the gift He gave me. I recognize that it's not mine. And I'm thankful. Yeah. Yeah, man. So to be ratchetdemic is to understand that in order to truly be an academic, one must embrace the pieces of themselves that are most removed from the traditional perception of an academic. To be a true academic, a true scholar, must mean that you're in touch with your most raw and non-respectable self, but also have access to the heights of what's been presented as intellectual. It is to be equal parts ratchet and academic and aspire to be, you know, in the words of like a Jay-Z, like I'm good on every MLK Boulevard and also good on the Harvard Yard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To not have to distort who I am in pursuit of being an intellect, and to understand that that's what we should have all of our children aspire to. The system of education has been so designed that we teach young people that in order for them to be academic or intellectual or smart, they must also have these presentations of academic, intellectual, and smart. Talk a certain way, act a certain way, engage a certain way, always raise your hand. Like it's less about the mind, it's more about the colonization of the body. And that's what we attach to being academic. You don't got to be smart. You just got to be able to type some stuff out on a test at the end of the year. That's what makes you smart. So we've distorted what it means to be an intellect by making it just performative. And to be ratchet, y'all know what it means to be ratchet. You know what I mean? Like this is me and you, right? This is the Jersey boy and a Bronx and Brooklyn kid. Like to be ratchet is to, you know, there's a certain veracity in how we engage, a rawness in how we express. We also got a little style to us. Like we're not supposed to be on this StreamYard in your Pelicans jersey and my fedora on tilt. We're not supposed to, right? It's supposed to be academic. We're supposed to be buttoned up and we're out. Like now, you know, to be ratchet, you got a little swag to you, got a little presence to you, a little rawness to you. You could be good in your hood. At the same time, ratchet on its own won't get us to freedom. If it's all about the style and the presentation and the rawness, you're going to be styling yourself in the same community you've been that's been designed to trap you, so there's no way out. However, there's value in your expressive self, and we must leverage that expressive self in the pursuit of high intellect. You know what I mean? So for me, Ratchetdemic is when you can embrace those multiple selves without apology, without distortion, in anywhere you go. So right now, you know, after I get off this talk with you, I'm gonna go pick up my little one from dance, and then we gonna be in the hood. You know what I mean? We're not going to the fancy restaurant. We're gonna go to the hood spot. We're gonna get some, you know what I mean, some little and listen, here's the thing about me. I'm good in the hood. You know what I mean? I was in New York, I'm in the Bronx, I'm on Fordham, I'm on 3rd Ave, I'm in the projects, I'm in LA, I'm in Compton. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm good in the hood. I'm not good in the hood because I'm special. I'm good in the hood because I value my authentic self and my ratchet identity. However, catch me in an academic discussion and bring that smoke and don't see if I won't smoke you. I be tearing these cats sometimes, right? You know, I've been on panels with certain folks. Oh, you want to talk science? Let's talk science. You want to talk sociology? Let's talk that. You want to talk psychology? Let's talk that. And it's not to say that I'm special. It's to say I could do what I do and do what you do. But you can only do what you do. You can't do what I do. What? Yeah, bro, you feel me? Like when I'm an academic in the full scope of being an academic, I can go to any academic institution in this country and intellectually and academically hold my own. However, them cats can never come to my hood and survive. Here's the thing I always tell people. When you lose your authentic self in order to be an intellectual or an academic, all you do is make yourself on an even playing field with somebody who's been designed to do that their whole life. Now be the same. When you bring your ratchet self and your academic self to that space, you're always superior because you have exactly what they have and you have something they can never get. I said this on a panel the other day with my brother Mark Lamont Hill, that like like blackness is the height of rigor. Ratchetness is the ultimate intellect. When you leverage the ultimate intellect in the pursuit of academic things, we win. And this is why it's important for our babies, because our babies are in a point when they're in school, no one's giving them the decision, but they're learning every day. Do I be myself or do I be like that? Do I be smart or do I be a nerd? Do I be a rapper or do I get good grades? Like, no one's presenting the binaries, but we're non-verbally saying to them, choose one side. And the reality is they don't have to choose. They can do it all. When a baby recognizes, like, wait, I like doing double dutch and rapping, and I'm good in math and science, and I'm Ratchetdemic, the world opens up, right? Like, yo, I love J's and I dress real fly, and I got a 4.0. I'm Ratchetdemic, baby. Like, it's an identity. It's a consciousness. It's a sensibility. It's a state of being. Yeah. And the argument I'm making, Ratchetdemic, is that it doesn't have to be arbitrary. It can be a goal, and we can create structures in schools to allow students to see that as a goal, and they can get into all the places that you want them to get to and still retain their authenticity. And for a very long time, we've had generations of Black folks who came from the hood, come from the hood, have a ratchet self, and they let go of their diamond in chase of a cubic zirconia. And then found out later that thing is worthless.
Yeah.
And they can't go back to get the diamond they left behind.
Yeah.
So Ratchetdemic is to be able to hold on to your diamonds, and even in academic spaces, stay shining.
Now, I know you would need probably hours to unpack my follow-up question to you. I'm just give me a summary, because I just want to stay true to these folks on here who are in these leadership positions, trying to figure out how to navigate, and particularly in the context you gave, with them being leaders in these particular spaces. How do I take everything you said about being Ratchetdemic, and what are the implications for me as leader in my school, whether I be principal, whether I be assistant principal? How do I make this a part of the culture of my building?
Well, the first thing you have to do is model it. If you want something to take root in your building, you have to model it, right? So you have to show up every day being on 20 as far as what your expectations are, and then also being on 20 in presenting your authentic self. And initially, people are gonna be like, "What is this?" Like, I don't know. They're gonna be a little confused. But that confusion is a necessary space to build culture in the institution, right? The second thing I would say is that you have to build a team, what I would call, or you have to build a Ratchetdemic cadre in your institution, right? So it might be a teacher, a student, an AP, part of a janitorial staff. And the entire purpose of that team is to build a Ratchetdemic culture, right? So you have people who are going to be the exemplars of showing off or showcasing this identity that you want to take root in your institution. The last piece is that you have to have approaches to pedagogy that showcase a Ratchetdemic framing. So if anybody's on here or whatever, like, we do a program called Science Genius. We're in the process of extending Science Genius across the country. And Science Genius is where we have young people in schools writing raps and rap battling about science and math.
Yeah.
You know? And so the intellectual rigor is high, but at the same time, the value for the cultural expression is just as high. We construct rubrics around it. There's an infrastructure, there's a training. And so once you build a culture like that as a part of your academic practice, the young folks start seeing that those binaries are non-existent. They start constructing shared identity. So there are a number of practices. I think bring a program like Science Genius in, showcase a reality pedagogy approach, view yourself, show up in that way, then build a team that's going to show up in that way in their own local spaces. And then with those things in place, and the last thing I'll say is also don't do that 1 week and be like, it didn't work, we done.
Yeah.
That's the part that gets me too. Well, Dr. Emdin, we tried to be Ratchetdemic for 3 days, and now, the kids didn't respond. You got to be consistent. You got to do that once, do that twice, do that 3 weeks.
That's right.
And people say, well, Dr. Emdin, we don't have the space and time to experiment with a new approach. And I'm like, yo, forget experimenting. You've been implementing a white supremacist approach for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
As long as you've been open,
yeah,
you've been implementing a flawed practice. Now you're going to tell me you ain't got the time to implement something radically different? How, Sway? So, you gotta implement the practice, you've got to model it, and you got to build a team to model it. And that's how you constitute culture.
I love it. I got two more I want to throw at you. And I can actually combine somewhat because I wanted to talk to you about science genius battles, but you touched on it. Let's go to hip hop ed though.
Yeah.
It started as a social media phenomenon, social media movement. And now it has evolved into much more than that. You know, you got something big going on that started as a hashtag. So let me see if I could combine the two. Why has the hip hop ed movement attracted the attention of such a wide, large, huge number of people all over the country and probably different parts of the world? And just to kind of combine questions, the science genius battles, how is that woven into the hip hop education? Make all that make sense, particularly for that person that hears the most negative lyrics within rap music and says, "Ain't no way."
Yeah. So I want to start by saying this: when you hear hip hop ed, don't think of Chris Emdin. When you hear hip hop ed, think of our team. We got like I'm dope. My team doper, right? You hear hip hop ed, think about Kiana Spellman, Brooklyn, New York, school counselor, building studios, just got the PhD, available for counseling and presentation across the country as we speak. Think about Tim Jones, youth development expert at HSRA, and working in San Diego, building out. Think about Ian Levy, building studios across the country. Think about Edmund Ajampong, teaching folks how to be able to teach science. Think about Yarabel Mercedes doing the ed leadership stuff. Think about, like, when you hear hip hop ed, don't think of me. Think about the reason why the movement is because we don't operate as individuals. We operate as a squad. You heard?
Yeah.
We like Wu-Tang. Method dope, Jizza dope, RZA dope, whole squad dope-er. And so I always want to lead with, when people say, like, you started hip hop ed. Founding is an interesting thing. Hip hop and education been together since hip hop was developed. Hip hop ed happened the first time somebody did a spin on a cardboard in the Bronx and realized that if they used more force in the initial motion, that their body moved faster, and they were doing science lesson right then. So they were doing hip hop ed happened when hip hop started. So, but as our organization, I think our success has been about, I have the best team in the country for PDs, for trainings. I just have the best team in the country. The second part is we don't have hierarchies. When we do a hip hop ed Twitter Spaces, I might lead 1 week. 1 week I might just shut the heck up. You know what I'm saying? Yachty comes in, and then I might just. We have somebody, like my sister Crystal. Crystal might just pop in, Crystal Watson, and do a little. So Angel Jones might just come in, and so distributed leadership is a piece of who we are. And for those who run schools, distributed leadership is the way that you have what your ideology permeated through the space.
That's right.
So one, I'm only as dope as my squad. Sankofa, we lift as we climb. We create space for everybody to be just as engaged. And when we say we create space, it's not just a bunch of PhDs. We got a PhD and a 15-year-old. We had 16-year-olds come on Twitter Spaces, and they come through every week. You know what I'm saying? And so it's about community. What we did was we brought a natural, organic, Afrocentric community to a digital space, and then from the digital space, it grew into an organization. And so I think that's been part of our success. Another piece of it is that it's not pretentious. We just get down. We laugh. Let me ask the principals, the APs, or whoever else in the building. Do y'all laugh at y'all PD? You know what I'm saying? Do you crack jokes? And I think that if that doesn't happen, you've got to build that into the space. Because if your PDs are boring and stuffy, even if you're talking about emancipation, the pedagogy gonna be the same way. the same way that you lead these cats is the same way they're going to teach these babies. You need to be able to have, bring folks in and do good work. Then they model how to be able to do the work, or you show up as yourself. So, though I think collectively those things have helped the success of hip hop ed. Science Genius is our premier, almost flagship program. And everybody's interested in Science Genius, holler at us. And why Science Genius is that way is because people can say, well, hip hop ed is a philosophy. Ratchetdemic is an idea. Here he is with a PhD. He a whole professor. He's just talking theory. I'm like, okay, fam, you thought it was theory. Check out this practice though, right? And so Science Genius allows us to be able to watch our babies shine scientifically. We've had graduates who did Science Genius who are now in schools as science teachers, right? And so it's about Science Genius allows us to be able to have a little fun in the spirit of hip hop, peace, love, unity, and having fun, but still be academically rigorous. And it's the flagship of our program because when we do our conference, we have adults, then we have the babies, and the babies are performing, they're presenting, they're rapping, they're battling. And we're gonna, we had to take a hiatus from our conference since because of pandemic. But we be back in person this year, baby. So this year we're gonna have our hip hop ed conference back in person, and it's just literally celebrating, learning, having fun, Science Genius. And I think those things are essential. Oh, I skipped the most important thing. My fault, brother. The most important thing that makes us who we are is that we do not separate out the spiritual from the secular. I don't understand. I don't understand our people who are interested in having young people learn and don't understand that the only way we've been able to get to any semblance of freedom as a people is by connection to our spiritual roots. And if you are spiritually bankrupt, you cannot be educationally rich. And we center that. And we are unapologetic about doing it. And we don't say our faith or like, I'm not trying to convert you, but I'm saying, what are you? You got to be tapped into something. What do you believe in? You know what I mean? If you don't believe in nothing, we can't do this. So we tap, you could be where you at, but you got to tap into some source. And we don't erase that from our work. We center it in our work. While everybody else try to erase it or hide it and not mention it, or maybe we shouldn't. I've been critiqued for it. What somebody said, why is he talking about Pentecostal pedagogy? And he's saying that we should be like black preachers. Well, listen, I'm not telling you to be like black preachers. I'm saying black preachers have an approach to instruction that you can learn something from. Yeah. And the fact that you are ignorant of the fact that there's pedagogical genius in the expressive ways of black teachers means that you ain't about this life or about this work, and I don't want you teaching my children. You know what I mean? So that's the essence of hip hop and how Science Genius is situated within it. And we're gonna keep rocking.
Keep on rocking. I got one more for you. And then I can say I got my whole agenda in. You and I spoke at the at Brother Sharif El-Mekki's Black Men Educator convening in Philly.
Beautiful, brilliant.
Oh man, what a day, what a week that he had. I was there the day before you, and I watched your video and was mesmerized by that closing keynote address that you gave. You never disappoint, right? So but thinking about the whole purpose of the conference and the purpose of Sharif's work with his nonprofit to identify and recruit and hire and train and retain Black men into education and rise way above that 2% that we represent right now in the classroom. Yeah. I think about my emphasis on Black men, and I always say, I went after them, but I ain't want just any Black man. Because this ain't for everybody. I wanted that one that was so hungry that he was willing to do whatever he had to do to become great at his craft of classroom teaching.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, where are those brothers and how do we get them into our classrooms?
They are everywhere, bro. you know, this is why I'm always fascinated by when folks that are not us talk about us.
Yeah.
You know, we can't find any black men to go into teaching. Where are you looking?
Right.
They everywhere. like you know, and I think that what they try to do is they try to articulate a narrative to make it a reality. It's like, we can't find any of them. We can't find, well, you didn't look. And by continually saying we can't find them, it gives the impression that they don't exist. So for me, man, it's like, yo, we everywhere, but we may not be in your institution because the institutions failed us. So you got to go to the street corner. You got to go to the barbershop. You got to go to the basketball court. Yeah. You've got to go to the people who left school, because the people who left school can tell you more about the flaws of school than those who made it through school, because those who made it through schools were the ones who were complicit enough to be able to graduate. Sometimes the person who made their way through academia successfully is the person who learned how to be able to lose their authentic self and be complicit to the tools of the oppressor. Mm. Look, the slave that left the plantation is the one that constructed the revolution, not the one that stayed. It's the one who left. The one who ran away is the one that plotted the over. So if you're recruiting for the revolution through the person who stayed, you're choosing the weaker one to lead the revolution. It's not going to happen. Mm. So when we did Science Genius, for example, in the first couple of years, we had people that we called Science Genius ambassadors. And our ambassadors were just brothers in the hood. And boy, did I get critiqued. Mm. They don't have credentials. You've not done background checks. Like, I mean, I got everything. I'm like, yo, I'm here with them the entire time to ensure that there's no funny business going on. And it was still fearful. So we found a way to get it done. Man, I want to just give a shout out to brother Swan. Swan is on Twitter. I can't on Instagram. I can't remember his name. Swan is a brother who left school. It wasn't for him. They never connected with him. I brought Swan, the magic that Swan had with them children. Woo!
Wow.
They listened to every word he said. Like every word he said. And through being an ambassador in Science Genius, Swan decided, you know what? I'm gonna go back to school. I left school because they didn't do right by me, but I know what it may look like to be able to fix it. So you want people who left because they know what went wrong and they can address it. Yeah. So I think the recruitment initiatives got to go beyond those who've been successful institutions and go into communities to recruit from there.
Yeah.
It's the first step. And the next step also is, just to help the brothers that we do have to learn how to be Ratchetdemic. Listen, y'all, I'll do a Ratchetdemic training session. Help you to find who you are. Help you to connect back to your divine purpose. Help you to be able to erase the mind, the endless years of mental oppression that you've gone through in schools that make you hate yourself. Mm. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
And if we do that work collectively, it's important. And finally, it's to center the work of Black women. And yes, I know the question was about Black men, but hear me out.
Yeah.
If you center and uplift sisters, they center and uplift us. The reason why our recruitment for Black men is dismal is because we've not done a good enough job celebrating our sisters, who will then pour into us when we celebrate them.
Yeah.
And so it seems like a roundabout way to get into it, but our way is more complex than the oppressor's way. We're not one-line people. We complex people. Mm-hmm. If you elevate your queens, your kings will shine.
There you go. There you go. Hey, let's do these rapid fire questions real quick. 20. One word, one sentence max. Right? Is education on the right path for underserved children in America?
No.
Are you, Dr. Chris Emdin, optimistic about the educational prospects for the masses of Black and brown students in America today?
Absolutely, yes.
Can true equity occur in America's schools for Black, brown, and other underserved students?
You got to take it.
Does Dr. Chris Emdin's work contribute to the progress we desperately need?
It is at the anchor of it.
If you could do a reset on your life, would your line of work be different or the same?
Absolutely the same path.
Why do you continue to do this work?
Because it's essential to my freedom.
What fires you up within the work that you do?
I can't name one thing.
What do you love about the work you do?
Everything.
What do you dislike about the work that you do?
Pretenders.
What has been your greatest victory in this work thus far?
I have victories every morning. I breathe.
What was your greatest mistake in this work thus far?
Waiting so long to find who I am.
What has been your greatest challenge in this work?
Waiting so long to find who I am.
Who inspires you in this work?
My people.
What are you reading right now? Book, blog, article, anything?
It's hard to say because I'm reading like 10 books right now. The one that I like the most is the Nap Ministry.
What book would you recommend to our viewers this afternoon now?
Ratchetdemic, Reimagining Academic Success. I've written a bunch of books. That's my favorite thing I've ever written.
What do you want to accomplish that you haven't accomplished yet?
Whatever the divine decides.
Are you satisfied with where you are now professionally?
Yes.
What could you say to a viewer out there who continues to face closed doors?
You are somebody's ancestor. Operate like it.
What could you say to a viewer out there who's lost their fire?
Fire can only be sparked within.
And finally, if Dr. Chris Emdin was a word in a dictionary, what would be your definition?
Ratchetdemic.
Ratchetdemic. Hey man, let me say thank you. This was powerful. I feel blessed. And I think that everybody on here loved everything about this conversation. The folks who are on here with me regularly, you know what we do. Hit them emojis up. Let them know. That's the applause. Give them some fire, some bombs, some hearts, some praise, whatever it is. And those of you who may have checked in for the first time today, then same thing. That's how we applaud on here. Just let me see those emojis. Oh man, they coming strong too. I see them. I see them. I see them.
Love.
I see them. And I don't know if you realize, Dr. Emdin, I wear Negro League jerseys on this platform every Saturday. I've got about 55 of them. And this
Pelicans joint is fire.
Yeah, people don't know about this team. This is in Berkeley, California.
Wow. And
people think about the Negro Leagues over, East and South, but California Pelicans. So as I always say, when I love what I heard. The grand slam, man, you hit it out the park, man. 4 runs, but you hit 4 grand slams, so we got 16 runs out of that one. Josh Gibson style, man, 800 home runs, put Babe Ruth to shame, but nobody knew about him except the folks in the Negro Leagues. But you hit it, man. I appreciate you.
I appreciate
let
you.
Folks know how to reach you and how to book you, how to get the books, everything.
Yeah, man. Yo, I just got a new Twitter page, brand spanking new.
The Chris Emdin.
Yeah, my handle is at the Chris Emdin. So at TheChrisEmdin. Also follow the Real Hip Hop Ed on Twitter, or Hip Hop Ed, HIPHOPED on Instagram. I'm at Chris Emdin on Instagram. Books, y'all. I've written a few of them. The Thank You King. The first one is for white folks who teach in the hood, and the rest of y'all too. Really celebrated book, classic book. I think it's essential. It's an essential read. My newest book is Ratchetdemic, Reimagining Academic Success. I tell folks all the time, I love all my books. That's my favorite book to read. It's I like sometimes I'm like I hear what's in that book and I'm like, who wrote it? For those of you who are interested in STEM, because we do science, genius, science, technology, engineering, mathematics is important for me. We can't get free as Black folks without making our kids be scientists and mathematicians. I wrote a book called STEAM, Make, Dream, that gives you examples of how to get young folks to be connected in the sciences. Follow us on all the socials, buy the books. And if you want us, me or my team, we got an extensive team of brilliant people. I only surround myself with excellence. My website is www.ChrisEmdin.com, www.chrisemdin.com. If I can't come through and do some work with y'all, I got a heck of a squad to do it. And then follow us on Tuesdays. We have a free online chat conversation PD on Twitter at 9 p.m. Eastern. Shout out to my brother Tim Jones at TDJ6899. Yadabel Mercedes, Yolanda Silly Ruiz, our whole squad. So those are the ways that we could stay in touch. And I really look forward to building with y'all. And let us know if you want us to bring Science Genius to your city.
Absolutely. Y'all get in touch. Get in touch. Hey, Chris, can you hang out while I close out?
Of course, bro.
I can wrap with you off mic for a hot second.
Of course, man.
All right, folks. Hey, look, like as always, I thank you for being here. This was week 141. Appreciate you being here. Those of you who are new to the platform, stay with us. We go on until I can't do it anymore, right? So next week, week 142, my man Craig Boykin from Montgomery, Alabama will be my guest. So come on and tune in at 10:55 next Saturday morning. The Fantastic Four every Saturday. Sean Hurt, Principal Hurt at 10 o'clock. These is all Facebook Live on Saturdays at 10. Create and Educate 10:30 with Dr. Sheikah Houston and Dr. Tammy Taylor. Unlock the Middle. This is Sunday night with Josh Tovar, Principal Josh Tovar and Principal Dean Packard at 7 o'clock. And then Unlock the Village. No, that's the wrong one. The Village Leadership Group with Dr. Rise Gaskin and Coach Williams, Tuesday and Thursday at 6. And then my man Manny Scott, Dr. Manny Scott, now he started one 9:30 every Saturday morning. So there's a lot going on Facebook Live on Saturdays and Sundays with the crew I'm associated with. Where we at? Make sure you visit principalkafele.com. Make sure you get your hands on the 2 books that I wrote that are associated with this platform, the Aspiring Principal 50 and the Assistant Principal 50. The Assistant Principal Identity will be released in May. So I'll be telling you about that. And when the cover is finished being designed, I'm going to show you that. Subscribe to the Virtual AP Leadership Academy YouTube channel. And also like and follow the Virtual AP Leadership Academy Facebook page, because as I always say, it's the broadcast on Saturday, but it's my commentary written on Sunday. I post that not later than 10 o'clock, so make sure that you go on. I'm up to 93 I've posted now. So go on that Facebook page and like and follow. And then lastly, your diet. Make sure you're eating right, y'all. We can't do this work if we putting any old crap in our system. Get that exercise in, and whatever your COVID precautions, make sure you take those precautions. Other than that, again, I thank you. Happy New Year. Have a strong week next week. Peace. Peace. Thumbs up. Cock that fist back. 1, 2, 3. Bam!